Welcome to the open mic. We do this call because MSPs asked. They wanted to know what was new with the platform, what we've been working on, and you folks wanted to do a little R&D or rob and duplicate of the automation ideas that your peers have. With that, let's talk about asking questions. Who am I picking on today? How about, because the sort list, Graham from SourcePass. How many MSPs have succeeded with automation and never asked a question?
0.
That is exactly correct. One of the big warning signs that I have on whether or not an MSP will succeed in automation is if they think they're an expert and they don't want to talk to anybody and they just want to be left alone. Those folks typically fail. But the ones that ask a ton of questions, either publicly, not even at Roost, maybe in your peer group, maybe at a conference, maybe in our public Discord, maybe in your private channel, those succeed. The ones that keep asking questions and asking for help. Let's see, Flow. Someone post it, is next week. I got Flow on the brain. We can probably squeeze you in if you're a last minute purchaser. Someone drop the Flow link. Who's going to drop the
Brian
Flow
already
link?
got it.
Brian did it so early.
Brian is so quick. Get your last minute tickets to come see us. I'm super excited. We have a ton of big announcements that's going to stress out marketing. There is what I'm allowed to talk about, and then there's what I will talk about, and they do not align. So definitely come and listen to my keynote. Also, this is a highly technical call. So if you're a decision maker and not an automation person, this is your chance to just sit back and hear how people are using the product. But don't be too overwhelmed when the folks get overly technical. With that, let's get this party started. Ashe, what's up?
Thank you, Aaron. Kelvin's predictions, Skyline, IPA, hard water, technical people talking about technical things. 100%, yes. Let us jump because I'm sure George has some things that he wants to cry out for us today and as our community crier.
Thank you, Ashley. Yes, obviously, following up on Aaron's opening there, Flow is next week. The time has come. We are all super excited to get together in person. If you still haven't bought your ticket, there's still time. There's still time. It's not till next week. Buy a ticket today. If make that snap decision. Avoid getting FOMO next week, and we'd love to see you there. Two key things I wanted to call out is the hashtag that we're using. Some of you guys may have seen it on LinkedIn. It's just simply Flow 2025. So whenever you're starting your journeys, getting on those airplanes, we'd love to see you guys all come into Florida. And then while you're there, if you're posting any content, that's the hashtag you can use. If you're not going to be there, that's the hashtag you can search for to see all the things that you'll be missing out on in person. The other thing you'll want to add to your to-do list is to get the app that we have, the Cvent app that contains all the details of the sessions that you can add to your personal agenda. It's got a map of the exhibitor hall, and it also has some community discussions in there as well. So make sure that you're getting that downloaded to your phone so you can get connected with people in advance and during the event as well. So yeah, super excited to see you all at Flow next week. The second thing I just wanted to call out as a good egg behavior is something I've been seeing more and more on Discord, which is great, and just something I wanted to highlight and see if more people would be keen to do it. And that's this idea that on Discord in our community channels, often people are coming with certain questions that we may need to redirect to your private channel because of the proprietary nature of the question. So Rock then maneuvers things to your private channel. What we're seeing is people actually come back to those community channels and saying, hey, posted this question here. Rock answered it in my private channel. This was the answer, and actually kind of coming back and tying things off. It's so helpful for other people in the future who are searching for things. Maybe they encountered a similar issue or problem. They find that question, and then you come back and kind of help tie things off. So just because something has to go to your private channel because of security, compliance, and proprietary info doesn't mean you can't come back to that community channel for future viewers to help round off that Q&A. So thanks to those folks who are doing that. And if other people want to be a good egg, that's a really good best practice for our community channels. That's it from me for this week. Really looking forward to seeing you all next week at Flow.
Thank you. And I think that George took the spot of second favorite Canadian today, because we do not have Daniel with us, but we do have some other people who are going to jump in and share some stuff. So Brooke and Mike, which one of you are starting? Brooke, or is that you?
Yeah, yes, I will kick things off. So thanks, Ashley. Let me share my screen. Yep, so Daniel's on leave, so you're stuck with me for the dev update. So we'll kick it off with the new features. So for App Builder, we've added a new page preset and improved the default app themes, as well as added new size and spacing settings. So in a minute, we'll have George walk us through those new page presets. For the Create Marketplace, we released the improved search and filtering. For the dashboard, we've introduced a new workflow executions widget, which I'll walk you through in a second. For forms, we've added a exist does not exist to the options filters to enable advanced filtering. And then for workflows, we've added the ability to filter workflows by a new listener attribute so that you can more easily identify those workflow listener workflows. So on the bug fixes and chores, I will call out a few notable items. So for the Microsoft CSP generic request, we've added the ability to send an accept header. We've also improved the organization mapping for the TD Synnex Stream 1 Ion integration. And for this particular item on the reduction of workflow initialization failures, we're going to have Riggs speak to that item. So over to you, Riggs.
Thank you, Brooke. I just wanted to take a moment and call out something that has been plaguing us for the last while in workflow initiation failures. We went through and re-engineered a very critical but legacy and brittle part of our application and how workflows initialize. We removed some internal dependencies and moved off of our internal Graph API endpoints and moved those over to direct database queries so we can get a more timely, more performant initialization out of those. And with that, we have seen almost a drop to zero in workflow initialization failures related to those. And so we're continuing to do great work around workflow execution success and driving down any system-initiated workflow failures down to zero. Obviously, there's still room for Jinja and context variable mapping issues and stuff like that that could cause workflows to fail. But we are working on identifying all of the moving parts that we can have a direct influence over and ensuring that your workflows fire successfully. So thank you for being patient with us as we've rolled those out over the last month.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Riggs. Sweet.
Thanks.
Perfect. So we'll move on to a demonstration of the new workflow executions dashboard widget. So you'll notice this widget at the very bottom of the dashboard. And what this is bringing in is the workflow executions for the selected org, as well as the suborgs. You'll notice that you can search and sort by the name of the workflow, the success rate, number of executions, total tasks, and the time saved. You can also export this if you wanted to bring it into another system for massaging or reporting purposes. And one thing that I wanted to call out for this particular widget is that we started the data collection for this as of June 18th, so this past Wednesday. So for the time being, if you're switching between the monthly and the weekly view, you're not going to see an update to these stats. And that's because the timeline for that started on the 18th, and we don't have the historical data for that. So with that, we'll go over to George for a demo of the new app builder changes. Stop there. Okay. Do we have George? No?
Hello.
There you go.
Just trying to share my screen here. Should be able to see my screen.
Yes.
Yeah, just going through some quick app builder updates. We, you might remember this old default blurple theme when you create a new app. That theme's gone. We updated the default light mode and dark mode themes that are available through the theme settings menu. We also added this reset button and this unsaved changes behavior to make that interaction a lot more easier for our native components. On the container, we added this background type that maps to this background property in the themes, making this a lot easier to customize in ways that you weren't able to before. And we added we totally revamped our preset system and just added a few new basic ones, including this basic 2-column layout, a markdown-based FAQ page, and this request portal that should look good in both of our default themes. And as usual with this, you can just extend these as you see fit. But yeah, that's the latest in App Builder land.
Awesome. Thanks for that, George. Yeah, and with that, that is the Devon product update.
Thank you, guys. All right, so now we are going to go over to Marketplace with JP.
Hello, everyone. All right, this week, what's that? You hear me? You good?
Yeah, you're good. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So this week we released a new Windows patch deployer crate, and I'll go over what that entails here in a minute. We have a normal set of adjustments to our existing workflows, and coming up, we still have a refactor in progress for one of our crates. Sync last login info to PSA asset crate. Also coming up, we have a series of BitLocker related crates in the works. I think there's going to be about 3 of them, just based on kind of the scoping we did for them. Let's look at the Windows patch deployer. This one's pretty neat. It's in the marketplace now under Windows patch deployer. The idea behind it is that you can select go to an organization, select like an operating system, and then select a set of computers based on that selection, and go ahead and select some patches to deploy, and then it'll go out and queue those on the remote machines using your RMM platform that you have configured. So I'll just go through it real quick. We'll just pick Windows 10. We'll go and we'll pick out the computers in that organization that fit that. So we got one. It's our test computer. It's got a few patches. You can add those. We can also set a deployment schedule for this. So it's going to, and that's going to be done through Roost. So it's basically going to sit in a wait status. And then it's going to go in and attempt to push out those patches. So you can select a ticket. It'll put some notes on it as well. Sorry, I got my. Just if anyone's curious, the way that we get the patch list is by running a cron. We have another workflow that runs as a cron job. So you've got like the workflow behind the form. Then you have this cron workflow that goes through and periodically pulls all the information from the endpoints at a given organization, and it stores that data in a template in Roost. And that's it. That's the workflow. I thought it was really neat. I know, like when I was at an MSP, sometimes patch managers through the RMM tools are kind of clunky, and this is just a really clean way to, and you need to send out like a hotfix workflow. So this is a nice way to go in and deploy them through Roost. All right, I think that's all we got for the marketplace today.
All right, thank you, JP. So now we are going to jump over to Clea and get our education update.
Hello, dropping some links in the chat, like they are hot, and spelling it with a Z to be extra cool. Here we go. Starting as always with shout outs on recent certifications. Martin, Justin, Dre, Bobby, Chris, Paolo, Jeremy, John, Jaden, Robert, Christina, Jess, and Artur for passing the foundation certification. Noah, Paolo, Dre, Justin, Dominic, and Christian for clean automation. Join the ranks, take your exam, and earn those fancy certificates that you can now post on LinkedIn. There's a very handy, easy button that comes through in your email that you get when you successfully pass. In terms of updates, we don't have too much updates, but we've got stuff cooking in the background, working on a course on troubleshooting, for example. But do sign up for live trainings coming up for the rest of this month. We're working on a new schedule for July, so that'll be added soon. And as a reminder, the Simple Automation Survey closes June 30th. Thanks to folks who have already submitted. We're going to make sure to pick a customer to win a Roost prize by the end of the month. And we thank you for your contributions. No documentation updates this week, but we'll have a whole bunch to share next week. So always stay tuned to those pages. And to answer Derek's question in the chat, yes, absolutely. You should be able to fill out that survey multiple times, but let me know in the CluckU Discord if you run into any trouble. I do want to wrap up with a little CluckU tip of the week. Not as much fun as a game tip, but it is fun if you are like a completion obsessy like I am. I don't know if there's a term for that. So I sign up for a lot of courses and then I get distracted by shiny objects and I don't finish them. Did you know that you can click on My Learning in the top right of Cluck University and see everything that you've registered for and your progress? For example, I can see that I've almost completed this build a PSA ticket automation and like, why not? Why haven't I finished it? What's holding me back? I can just jump right into the course from there. And I see, oh no, I forgot to fill out the super useful feedback survey. All I need to say is, did I get what I needed from the course? Share any feedback? They all go to me, so please no curses. And I promise you, we look at them. So I can add another completed course to my radar. Thank you for listening and let us know if you have any education questions.
Thank you, Clea. I think that, oh yes, Clea the completionist. That has a ring to it. All right, so now we are going to have a special demo from our very own Ben Clymer.
Thanks. This one's, I think, kind of a quick one. So I was looking back at some of the first workflows I made, and we actually had a wellness contest that kind of had a low barrier to entry, and we ran it in Roost with forms, app builder, and some other things. And I meant to share this a lot earlier, but here it is now. At a super high level, I don't like asking for things that I already have. So all the objectives and rules and chicken puns were in the initial page, and all you had to do was agree, and it would sign you up. When you kick that off, it goes to the sign up form processing. We check if there's already a user. This is tied to a $5 a month SQL database. Just checks if it exists. If it doesn't, if not, we look up the Slack name, which we'll reference later, and then we toss their user in the database. So the next thing is kind of how do we have an honor system around these entries, and we required everyone to add a picture to it. And what we kind of did here, since we don't have an actual like an image upload built in, is we add the activity and then we request that people put in an image URL. That led to this workflow, which, let me know in the chat. I can't decide if this is a ship or a pair of lips. Let me know which you guys vote for on this, if it's ship or lips. But at a super high level, yeah, it's a ship lip or a lip ship. We get the team. We look up if they have any existing entries because we didn't want people overdoing it. So we have a max entry bit where you still get some kudos, but we're not letting people overdo it. If someone goes completely off the rails and outpaces people to the point that no one else can catch up. One of the weird things that I ran into with Slack with image links is I think sometimes the image wouldn't finish uploading before Slack tried to retrieve it. So I would get these invalid photo posts. And the way that I handled that, if you see something like this, is I looked for the error, which is invalid blocks. And then I actually still give them credit, and I put the image URL in there instead of trying to put the image in there. And I've got a picture of what those look like. I think here. Yeah, so here's an example of one of those. So it kind of embeds it in the Slack block kit and shows who made the entry, has some motivational language and how many points they did for the week. And then it kind of updates the points and all that great stuff. So the next thing is we wanted to kind of keep people updated. So we had a daily post in our Slack channel to show us where everything was at. I'll get to these in a minute, but we're grabbing the Slack and then we're doing just a simple post message here. And all this is block kit, which I'll touch on in a second. These are really simple SQL queries, or at least really basic ones that just, we're selecting, kind of summing up what's there. If people want to look at any time, we built kind of a mobile-friendly app builder page, and this is just 2 charts that pull the queries. Kind of list by name, all that good stuff. That's that page, and then I'm just going to touch on block kit builder if you guys aren't familiar, and you want to design Slack messages. Block kit builder gives you actually sort of a drag and drop interface to start designing what these look like. And then you can take the payload and start filling this with Jinja when you bring it over to Roost. And, one of the things you could also do, I've seen people vibe code the block kit and have decent success with it too. But this is kind of what it looks like when you want to make a Slack post, is they have their own little blocks that you can build with. Yeah, I think that's about it. This is just a little one for wellness.
Thank you. It's interesting. I love to see when people do those internal little helper things, especially when they are integrating the forms. Honestly, if any of you guys have anything like that, you should let me know, because we should showcase more of that stuff. It's always fun. Next up, we're actually going to jump over to Hunter now for his demo, the one that we didn't get to last week.
Hello, hello. Hope everyone's Friday is going good. I am going to demo a workflow that I built to help out our dispatch team. We use tasks in ConnectWise Manage, where you can go in and select a task and it will populate with a bunch of different stuff that we've built into the template. And we found that a lot of times techs aren't going in and checking these off, and the dispatch team was having to check every single ticket and make sure those tasks were checked off. So what this workflow does is it will get the service ticket, lists the tasks, and separate it out into open and closed. And I had to build some Jinja logic here for like if there's no note in the task, which apparently does happen every once in a while because we had one or two, and some other stuff. But essentially, if there's any open tasks, it'll go down this chain right here and update the ticket to say the below tasks are not completed, which I can show you here. So it's just saying that this ticket has unchecked tasks. It tells them the count, and then it goes through every single task and lists them all for the ones that are open. This is how that ticket note looks like. You can see that it says 5 tasks, and then it goes through and lists all of them. It will then update the ticket, like I said, and set the owner and the resource back to the tech that closed it, and then put it back in a status for it needs tasks checked off, so they can go in and check them off. It's a pretty simple workflow, though. I did have to add a random delay to check if the ticket note was already added, because I have run into instances where because the ticket's saved and we have other stuff that runs off of a ticket save, it causes the workflow to run a couple times. So just having a random delay and then checking if the note's already added typically fixes that and doesn't cause any duplicate notes. And that's it. It's a pretty simple workflow, pretty small one.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions before we move on? Not. We will jump now to Derek. Derek, I messaged him asking if he could demo, and he's like, only if you make the feature request for the enhancement on the app you made. And I was like, here it is, it's done.
That is accurate, and that is an awesome feature, by the way. So I just am wanting to show off this simple little sub workflow I built that helps set ticket statuses in ConnectWise, because everybody who works in ConnectWise knows that while ticket status names are the same across the boards, managing what those IDs may be is less than fun. So real simple input, you input the board that you're wanting to go to edit on, the string status name, and then what ticket you're wanting to change. And it comes in and it pulls all the board statuses, and then it does a nice handy dandy little simple list comprehension and matches the status of the board, of all the boards, with the status that you want, and then outputs the status ID. And then it comes in and if the status exists, just changes the status. If it doesn't, then it will actually log a status 2000 change, or if it exists, a status 1000 change that then you can process in on your parent workflow for additional logic. So nice, easy little something that I feel like solves a major issue. Anybody have any questions or anything?
A lot of hand clapping. Thank you. So how so is this one of your like was this a new one that you did?
Yeah, I did this last week. We actually have another workflow that's changing statuses on bundled tickets, and I had this all hard coded, and I was working on something else last week, and that needed the same thing. And I was like, wait a second, I've already done this. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. I'm going to make this a sub workflow because, you know, this has potentially the use for a lot of different stuff.
That's great. It's always so fun when it's like, well, I mean, I'll speak for myself when I say sometimes I'm like beating myself up over something that should have been a sub workflow that I was like, oh, it's too complicated for me to think about making that a sub workflow right now. So I'll just continue with this big thing. And I was like, if only I just stopped and did that first, it would have been like so much easier.
Yeah.
So
One of the
thank
things we're
you.
fighting with now is identifying when to go back to the old workflows and replace the hard-coded stuff with sub workflows. Like at what point is a sub workflow tested enough to put it in production on a really important workflow? So a lot of stuff to think about.
Thank you. And yes, oh, and just do it. Yep. All right, so we are now going to jump over to Stuart.
Hey, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So George asked me earlier if anybody had anything that had been efficient or optimized or whatever, and so I had one workflow I built around gathering and auditing data on the client devices that we have for billing purposes and stuff like that. The original proof of concept was auditing stuff in Enable to determine what license it had, whether the server was a physical or virtual machine, all that kind of stuff, etc. It ended up taking the initial proof of concept about 45 minutes to run because to determine if the server is physical or virtual, you have to manually call each device specifically and like dive into the details of it to get that. And we have a good chunk of devices, so that took forever to do. So with some nifty pre-computing and some use of SQL, I managed to trim that down. It now runs in about 30 to 45 seconds on a good day if Enable and Roost are playing nice. So I'll go ahead and share that and kind of get into the weeds. I did run it beforehand just in case the demo gods don't like me. So I can prove that it did run in 34 seconds here. But I'll go ahead and run it again, and then I'll show some of the stuff that's happening in here. So the two obvious steps here is it's grabbing the clients, and then it's grabbing the client devices. The two other components here that were the big bottlenecks was one, getting the server type. And so because that is a constant value, I'm actually caching that in a SQL table and using that as a reference, and I'm just looking up any ones that aren't in that SQL table. So that way, anytime it runs, I might only be looking up 2 or 3 new devices. The other thing was a bottleneck was normalizing the enable customer ID to the auto task ID that we use for our whole audit reference. And so calling each org variable and iterating through that list was really, really slow. So I ended up exporting that to a SQL table, doing a similar nature where it's checking for any that I don't have alignments to, and it actually generates an email that shoots it out to let me know, hey, this client is not inside this database. And there we go. Now I've got the whole thing, and we'll actually grab the results. But so now we've got all of our data hashed by the organization's ID in AutoTask with how many servers they have, how many firewalls, what license they have, server type, how many workstations they have, all of that stuff in, this one felt a little bit slow, 55 seconds, as opposed to a sizable chunk of an hour. And yeah.
Thanks, Stuart. Yeah, that was a call for the theme of it being summer solstice today. Longest day of the year, everyone. So make sure you're getting out and enjoying that sunshine. So efficient like the sun is today. So yeah, thanks for that, Stuart.
Yeah.
That's the end of all of our demos now. So if anybody's got questions, we kind of breezed through some of that. It's always so hard to tell when it's what's going to take time and where we're going to get like really spiraled into conversation and where not. But if anybody has any questions for any of our people presented,
Stuart, did you also
Really
do this for
quiet.
documentation or just Autotask?
Wait, what was that?
Did you do this for just Autotask, or did you also do this for your documentation platform? Because it's very funny. We have a very similar workflow when we moved away from Enable a while ago, but
yeah,
we do pretty much the same, but then also update our documentation system so that people can have a quick overview of like a single page overview of what the actual client stack is, including the devices, contracts they have, that kind of stuff.
Yes. So actually, I think I'm still sharing actually. This specific workflow here, specifically the subworkflow in here, is, and I'm going to go back to this, does take just an array of portal IDs. So what the company, right? The array of portal IDs, and then whatever the portal ID name is, in this case, like whatever Roos calls it. And so that's all you feed into the workflow. And then from here, it just iterates through that and pulls from a custom integration table. So it's a SQL table, and that has pretty much every platform that we have integrated in Roost in that table. So that way it allows us to bulk convert between one portal to another really quickly in case we need to do it for like 200 clients in Autotask or something like that. For something like I've got one for Cisco Meraki is one of the things we use for our firewalls. And so I need to get everybody that's inside of a region based on what Autotask region they're in. And so I can just go to Autotask and say, hey, give me everybody inside this region. And so it gives me everybody in that region. And then I can say, hey, get me Autotask to Meraki from that table. And now I've got that table for all of those people in one single query. And it's really fast and snappy to do. So it's had a lot of just general use cases for bulk queries like that, where it's not a single org flip, because if it's a single org flip, I'll just use the baked in workflow node. But if it's a ton of them, it's a lot easier to just do it with SQL, because the output from this, it also pre-hashes it between those. So I can just feed in an ID and it'll output whatever the corresponding ID is.
That is so fucking nerdy.
Yeah, it's I love
it. I love it.
I use so many hash tables all over the place, but they're fast, they're efficient. It's a nice way to organize and store data.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, no, not a problem.
yes, thank you very much, Stuart. Have I been referring to you by the wrong name all this time? Is your last name Home?
Yeah, I think you tagged the wrong person in the Discord earlier. I saw it, but I was like,
Sorry
yeah,
about that.
I knew. Don't worry about it. I knew who you were talking about because they had pinged me about it earlier, so I knew it was coming up, and I saw the name, and I was like, I'm not gonna make us think about it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. We're done with our scheduled programming, so now it's truly open mic time. What's on your minds?
Maybe Aaron could tell us what's going to happen at Flow.
Stop. There was like a very suspicious post in the coop today by someone who I don't know posted a question in there that surprised me. Like there was loose lips sinking ships.
You ever
How
hear of
many
this
of you are
rising
now
effect
looking
area?
around the coop to check who made that post?
Yeah,
Everyone is
never
curious.
heard of this rising effect.
Everyone's furiously scanning the coop now.
It was Dre's question.
I don't know what you mean. But what's crazy is there's like, how many hands? We had almost 40 hands raised in here that are going to flow, but then we almost have 400 people that are just on the MSP side signed up. So there's a lot of people that don't join open mic that we got to get them on here.
Sounds like you need some banners at the conference to let people know.
Yeah.
Or t-shirts. Or this is just a suggestion. Like hear me out. You get me a giant chicken soup. I will walk around the conference in the chicken suit telling people to join the open mic. I'll go out on the street and will tell people to join the open mic.
This is sounding good. And then we could go to Skyline Chili with you in the suit and do photo ops.
See? And Skyline Chili will then want to sponsor Roos. This is all just a brilliant idea.
We'll come to the conference just to see you in the chicken suit.
The notifications from the chat kept covering over my mic button and I couldn't unmute myself. Owen asked a good question. He said, anybody having a problem with the workflow right now?
Yeah, anyone stuck? We could do some live workflow debugging. You can raise your hand. You can drop it in chat.
Linda.
Andrew raised his hand.
Is anybody using DNS filter? I'm having trouble getting a list of users for the organizations in DNS filter. It's a little bit frustrating.
Does anybody know the answer to that one? I've never used DNS filter.
I'm going to check my workflows right now.
Take a look with you.
Whoa!
Where's that pull?
I can get agents. I can get everything else. I just can't get the users for each of the organizations. I even tried running as the orgs, and it just returns the list of our MSP users.
Oh, it's a different call. I remember this now. There's a different call for MSP users than there is tenant users.
Did we lose Nick?
I'm not sure. Let me try to find it.
There you are.
A while back.
Yeah.
Like I can get the users from like the local agent users, but that's not all the users for the organization. We have an organization in particular that has only 14 agents or 16 agents, but they've got like 88 users. So not everything is being captured in my billing report.
Did DNS filter ask you guys to pay for the API access? Because our developer was told by tech support that you had to pay a separate fee for access to the API.
Yeah, you have to get to tier 2. So you have to request tier 2 access. We have tier 2 access. So we do have access to the API. I can get a ton of other data from DNS filter, just not the users.
Okay, there's a task called list agent local users and organization. Have you tried that one? So
yes, that only lists the users that have agents. So if there's no agent, it doesn't list the user. I run into the same problem.
You did list organization users as well?
Yes. That one seems to list organization users doesn't seem to return anything. It seems to be a dead endpoint. At least the Roost one doesn't return anything. It's an empty list.
Hey, Andrew, have you looked at, does the DNS filter API support this?
In the documentation, you can list users from the organization. If you specify the organization ID and then the user's endpoint, it's supposed to list the users, at least according to their API docs. But but I might just try bare PowerShell call and see if I can get that information first, and then maybe I'll just have to do a standard API call to DNS filter.
Yeah, there's you could try the generic DNS filter DNS API request action, and drop the URL path in there. Maybe there's a missing API endpoint or something on our end.
Okay, I'll try that.
I mean, because it'll get you, you'll be authenticated already. It is a DNS filter action on the Roost side. Do you know which action I'm talking about?
Yes, I have it up here. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Thank you.
So
Let us
I don't
know in the coop how you make out.
Will do, for sure.
And then the advice that is always given, I've never used DNS filter, but it's often good to do a little F12 and see what their front end is accessing to see if it might give you some insight into where in their API that's being held.
That's a good idea too. Yeah, I haven't tried that yet.
Yep. Jeffrey, is that your hand that's up here? Sorry, I lost whose hand. Yes, Jeffrey, do you have a question?
We do have a workflow that could benefit from some people looking at it, and the Jinja and some of our stuff. I can show it if we want to take a look at it. We have 9 minutes. I don't know if that's enough time, but okay.
Let's try.
It'll be a speed run Jinja solve.
Okay, this workflow is, it's our ticket mirroring workflow. So we have ConnectWise, we have our internal Spare Technical Services department, we have the help desk teams. If we want something to be done by them or they want something to be done by us, we're in the same corporation, but we mirror tickets using Roost instead of copying them or moving them to the other board, so that both people keep a record of what they do. So basically what we're doing is we're determining if there's a mirror, we're creating a mirror, or we're updating another one. And Roost constantly keeps everything in like it'll check, did somebody, for example, and the one workflow that we're having issues with is the time sync. So 2 tickets are open, they're mirrored, they're in our database, they know they're mirrored, and somebody goes and updates the ticket. We have the flow constantly checking whether or not a ticket is updated, and it's locked down to only tickets that are updated, not that are new, and it is not looking at Roost API changes, workflow changes, or some other changes. But we started having duplication of notes, like somebody would write a note and then it would go and add it to the other ticket, and then the source ticket would add a note, it would write it to the destination ticket. The destination ticket, ConnectWise would say, I'm updated, set the flag, and Roost would see that update again. And then on this destination ticket, it would say, hey, I just got a new note. And then on the source ticket, it would say, hey, there's a new note here. And then the source ticket would get the note. So it would create a loop. But we think we solved it by waiting for, let's see here. I think it's, oh, that's not the one.
Someone, I know there's some discussion about ticket custom field to lock it. Does someone want to ask that question or mention this?
Oh. That's not a bad, it's saying that maybe have a custom field to check a box that say, I've just been updated and lock it, and then look for that and not update the other side to stop the loop.
Exactly. Just like
Okay.
if you were comparing a database or something, just making sure the last thing that was touched is locked, going and updating anything that isn't for that specific ticket note. And then once that ticket note has been synced across, you can go and remove those locks.
I like it. Okay. Then it give 6 minutes to somebody that might have something else. I think I'll try to investigate that and see if that kind of solves some of our looping problem.
And Jeffrey, I've seen 100 MSPs do that. So it's the very common way to solve it.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks for
Yeah,
asking
and
a
just like-
question.
Yeah, and just like custom fields are like thinking in 3D, opening up to the community and asking for collective help is like thinking in 3D too. So, any others? We've got a few minutes.
We could probably do one more quick one.
Nobody volunteers. I guess we'll just have to hear from Aaron.
Yeah.
That doesn't motivate anyone to talk.
Oh, that backfired, huh?
All right. We got flow. I've got flow in the brain. I'm going to see a lot of you next week. I'm excited. It's
What's
gonna
your
be
keynote
fun.
again?
Oh, but yeah, I got a keynote, don't I? I'm dying to give it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
What is the number one thing everybody should pack?
Ooh, Tums.
Chicken suit, of course.
Daniel with an A doesn't want me to give this presentation. He said
That's the
it's too
title of it.
risky. Yeah. But I'm going to do it anyway.
That's a vibe.
All right. I'll see everybody next week. Have a good weekend, everybody. Have safe travels to Tampa. And I'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. See you soon.
Meow.
Doodles.
Meow.